Hello, everyone. My name is Jamie Kaur, and I am the program manager for the Center for Leadership and Social Responsibility here at the Milgard School of Business. And I just want to first of all say thank you to the judges, thank you to the students and all the staff, everyone for making this event a great success. I know everybody learned a lot through this process. This is the 19th annual internal case competition on social responsibility. 19th annual. I've been here for about 8 of them, so it has been exciting every step of the way. So I just want to give you guys an overview of the last couple weeks. About 10 days ago, our student teams, they received the case that we created, and they had exactly a week to turn in a presentation with their solutions and recommendations. And today you will hear from the top two teams who competed in separate rooms, and they will be playing out for the final, for the first place. We will be giving 3 prizes. So first place, second place, and third place, all will be announced at the very end. So it would be great if you all can stay. We do have snacks in the back for you if you'd like. So I'm going to take a moment and allow the judges to introduce themselves.
My name is Andrew Modine, sales manager here at the Marriott Tacoma downtown next door.
My name is Emily Knutson, a corporate responsibility manager at T-Mobile.
Danielle Catalano, director of sales at the Marriott Tacoma downtown.
Derek Collins, a senior real estate manager with Link Logistics Real Estate.
Frank Boykin, project director for the Department of Commerce, Minority Business Development Agency.
All right, and I believe we have one more judge. So the judges are earlier today. We had all 4 teams have been competing in their rooms, and the judges deliberated to come up with the winner of each room. And first, I'm gonna let the last judge introduce themselves because they're alumni and it's important.
Sorry, I'm Wes Carter, 2015 UW student. I did 4 case competitions, 2 internal, 2 external. Third time being a judge, and it just seems to get better and better every year. Thanks for the invite.
All right, so the judges deliberated, and we're gonna have Sean let you guys know who the winners are from each room.
Yeah, basically who will be advancing to the next round. And when I announce this, you guys will have some time to go off and talk amongst yourselves, do a little more practicing, about 15 minutes, correct? Probably about 3 minutes, okay. So we better get going. Okay, advancing. Okay, yeah, not a full practice, but at least get to step outside for a few moments. Advancing from room number 1 is team B1. Jake, Mitchell, Adam, Anastasia. Do we have them in the room? Yeah. Yes. Advancing from room number 2 is team C1. Saeed, Tyler, and Skylar. Right. So you guys can depart with me. We'll separate you out for a little bit so you can kind of gather yourselves, and then we'll be starting the next round here soon. Yeah.
Go ahead and take a moment, and we'll get started.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. Today, we're bringing you a vision of Kahanapali Reimagined, a 5-year sustainable development and tourism plan. My name is Mitch. This is Adam, Anastasia, and Jake, and together we represent WTCN Business Solutions. So, a little overview before we jump into specifics. I want to give kind of a quick look at our goals for the resort and the surrounding area. So our plan does focus on the economic recovery and development of the region, but we want to balance that with cultural and environmental responsibility. That's been kind of our guiding light when crafting this plan for you today. With that, I'm going to pass things off to Jake, who's going to talk to us a little bit about sustainable tourism, the market for it, and what it means for the region.
40% of Maui's economy relies on tourism. And after the wildfires in 2023, over $1 billion of revenue was lost from tourism. That affected businesses and local communities. As we look forward, travelers' priorities are changing. 83% now seek sustainable travel. And with the ecotourism market expected to double by 2028, we can confidently say that Kaanapali can embrace sustainability and remain competitive. To rebuild, our plan focuses on 3 key objectives: economic sustainability, environmental stewardship, and cultural integrity. That means keeping revenue local, reducing tourism's environmental impact, and preserving Hawaiian tradition. In the coming years, we do expect challenges. We think that there's going to be issues with cultural engagement, community engagement and cultural identity, as well as overcrowded public services and traffic congestion from over-tourism. We also expect to see coastal erosion, more issues with invasive species, water scarcity, and extreme weather. And as these require long-term, proactive solutions, Adam will now introduce our sustainability plans.
All right, thank you, Jake. So you may be asking, what is our plan based on? Well, our plan is based on 4 foundational pillars. First and foremost, sustainability. Building sustainability into the resort by integrating technology, green technology, and using eco-friendly resources to help protect the environment. Next, we have culture. The culture of the people, the island's history, and their combined traditions should be incorporated into the resort with a strong emphasis on Hawaiian traditions and language. The next pillar, community, reaching out in the form of partnership to local businesses, nonprofits, and especially the farming industry is going to be paramount for us to help build a network of sustainability. Next, we have the last pillar of education. Who do we want to educate? Well, everyone if we can, but most importantly, we want to educate the staff and the guests about how they can help the environment and the community as a whole. So that brings us to our plan. Now, our plan begins with cutting carbon emissions by the use of a EV shuttle or van to transport guests and staff. Next, moving to hotels, we can retrofit them with green technology like biomass boilers, energy-efficient chillers, high-efficiency HVAC systems, LED lighting, gray water recycling, and low-flow fixtures. Now, the beach itself can be protected by partnering with the Department of Land and Natural Resources on Hawaii to help create artificial reefs and build up berm enhancement to try to slow beach erosion. And so that brings us to our last one, agriculture. We have a goal of about 30% foods and beverages being sourced locally with farm-to-table partnerships. Specifically, companies with the Grown on Maui stamp of approval is going to be important. Now, helping the local communities through agriculture is key to building sustainability and providing a true sense of the Hawaiian culture. Now I'll pass it off to Anastasia for more on culture.
Thank you. So let's take a look at our second pillar. The rich culture of the Hawaiian Islands is a priority in the tourism industry because both locals and tourists care about seeing Hawaii authentically. So we propose strengthening cultural integration by partnering with those nonprofits who are at the forefront of promoting and renewing Hawaiian culture. For example, the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association. It's a non-for-profit that focuses on Hawaiian language, respect, and cultural practitioners such as those who preserve arts like ulana or weaving. So resorts can attract more tourists by partnering with these organizations to create authentic experiences such as monthly workshops, regular performances, and Hawaiian language learning and usage. Another example is the Maui Cultural Lands. It's a grassroots non-for-profit, and they can help us focus on what is known as malama, nurturing and respecting Hawaiian nature and culture. They are a non-for-profit that we can partner with to create volunteerism opportunities similar to those promoted by the Hawaiian Tourism Authority. And finally, Tree Covery, a non-for-profit that can create tree growing hubs to grow endemic trees for replanting, similarly to what is being done in the Royal Lahaina Resort. Partnering with these non-for-profits will help us promote exposure and respect for Hawaiian nature and culture. Another important focus is our community's local small businesses. And one thing that we can do to support them is to source our supplies locally, like the Cayuga collection does. But we don't have to stop there, because services can also be sourced locally. Things like accounting, tour planning, web and app development can support these businesses. Another thing that we can do is to bring tourists to the businesses. This can mean something like temporary events or permanent marketplaces in the resorts that are dedicated to the local services and goods provided by these small businesses. And finally, we should focus on providing tools to grow these small businesses, doing things like teaching them social media strategies, which will help them prepare for the 80% of travelers who look online when planning trips. And now that we've talked about education for small businesses, let's talk about education with Mitch.
Yeah, when I think about education, I think about providing strong tools for people to engage with. So with that, we were inspired by the Olau Palau Sustainable Tourism app, which is from the country of Palau. We think that's an experience that we can recreate here in West Maui. Malama Kana Pali would be an app that enhances your guest experience by giving them opportunities to earn points through sustainable actions and redeem them for ecologically friendly excursions, things like kayaking trips, guided hikes through lesser known parts of Maui, things like that. And through earning points can be done by applying biodegradable sunscreen, working with those not-for-profits, and volunteering your time. Not only is that rewarding in and of itself, but getting those points for the redemption of other things would be very important. And then finally, if we want to redeem those points for other things for the value-minded guest, something like discounts for food on the resorts would be important to have. Alongside the app, we'd like to look at reader board displays, things that would, in the common areas of the resort, go through the Hawaiian word of the day, maybe a featured local restaurant for the week, cultural event opportunities coming up, as well as making sure that everybody is aware of sensitive areas post-wildfire that guests should still be avoiding. So how do we put all this together? We have broken this up into kind of three specific pieces: the short term, the midterm, and then looking ahead. One of the main goals here was to spread costs among operating periods, as well as prioritize community partnership from day one. So in the short term, we're looking at the retrofitting projects, so doing things like the biomass boilers, VFD pumps, things like that, things that pay for themselves quickly and are efficient. And moving from there, we would like to launch a core marketing strategy saying that Maui is ready, right? Partnering with social media influencers, the local government, partnering with other resorts on Maui to send a message that is unified to the world that Maui is ready to receive guests once again. Also, we're looking at a comprehensive staff training program, teaching them about these retrofits, what they mean, why they're important, teaching them about our shift to the cultural responsibility so that they understand what's going on the island as well. Because we want them to be a fount of knowledge for our guests, for anything and everything Ka'anapali. Lastly, in the first term, we'd like to have community listening sessions hosted regularly, town halls of sorts, that give locals and community leaders an opportunity to discuss with us how best to work with them. In the midterm, we'd like to look at launching the app and developing the app, installing the solar panels, which is a little bit more of a pricey thing. We want to save that after we've started saving on other energy programs, as well as environmental research and nature-based adaptations, talking about berm enhancement, talking about those artificial reefs that Adam was speaking about earlier, and then also launching the EV fleet. Finally, looking ahead, we want to make sure that we are being aware of severe weather prep, right? Earmarking funds for disasters, making sure that our building infrastructure is up to snuff for inclement weather, and finally, progress evaluations, right? Making sure what were our goals, have we been hitting those goals, and how close are we, right? And speaking with that is going to be Jake, who's going to talk about some of those goals.
Thank you, Mitch. Hawaii aims for 100% clean energy by 2045. Wind is an option, but it faces local opposition due to health and noise concerns. Offshore wind farms could be an option, but Trump has stated he plans to freeze all funding and projects related to offshore wind farms. So our focus now is on solar. It has become much more affordable in recent years, and even if Trump decides to remove the 30% tax credit you get from installing solar, it is a very affordable and effective option. We also plan to invest in solar energy storage. That means that instead of just net metering, where we would sell our excess energy back to the grid for a fraction of the price that we would pay for it, we have batteries that will store, and we can utilize that energy that will maximize efficiency and reduce grid reliance. Beyond that, we also plan to implement green retrofitting, which we've talked about before, that will lower our energy and water consumption as well as operational costs. So, for an initial investment of about $3.2 million, we can see a projected annual savings of almost $650,000, achieving payback within just a few short years. These savings can be reinvested back into the community, back into supporting local businesses, and into environmental restoration projects, ensuring that sustainability development goes beyond just our resorts. Adam will now discuss.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jake. So on top of our solar and energy saving initiatives, we can also use smart technology to maximize efficiency, like IoT sensors, big data, cloud computing, and data analysis. These will cut costs and allow us to measure our usage without expensive infrastructure upgrades. And now for how we're planning to track our progress here. So we believe tracking our progress is important. First, some key environmental factors: keeping track of water usage per guest to see if our water saving initiatives are actually doing their job. And tracking carbon emissions and power usage is important to evaluate our plan for solar and battery usage to see if the changes we've implemented are actually working. Next, for culture, an annual sustainability and culture report should be published every year to keep track of our cultural initiatives. Tracking metrics for cultural engagement is key to seeing how many people are attending the monthly workshops and how many volunteer hours are being performed on a regular basis. Direct communication with the local community leaders for feedback is going to be paramount. But not just communicating. We want genuine feedback, so we want genuine relationships and connections with those community leaders. And then last, we want to track how many locals are employed at the resort itself to make sure we're actually supporting the local community. And then finally, tracking our savings from our behavioral sustainability practices to see if our everyday sustainability tactics are indeed working. And with this, I'll pass it off to Anastasia to talk about some more future considerations.
Right, so as we come to a close, let's look to the future and some of what we discussed today. So we expect potential challenges in all of these three areas that we would like to prepare for. First, we would start with beach management that would be conducted while hearing community concerns. We would also be conserving water to deal with any drought issues and promoting endemic reforestation together with tree cover to address fire concerns. Next, we would be continuing to grow renewable energy in order to not only save costs, but to stay up to date with Hawaii's plan to go 40 and then 100% renewable. And since over-tourism will continue to be an increasing concern, we recommend growing the EV van program to unburden public roads and public services. And above all, as time progresses, we will be looking to our role models, our cultural specialists, and our environmental experts to help us adapt to the unexpected. And now let's hear from Mitch for the closing.
So it all comes back to the four pillars, right? Sustainability, community, culture, and education. If we embrace these and implement them smartly while analyzing our progress honestly, we can make our vision for Kaanapali a reality. Thank you very much. We would love to hear your questions.
When the time is ready, that's one. And to that, now the next spell thing. There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate the outlay of the cost. One of the things that I didn't see was the cost of the application and the cost of like the IoT type technologies.
Yes, so we looked through a bunch of different places that actually that's their whole job is creating apps. And so what we estimate is that we would be a medium-sized application based on the amount of data that we would need to store and how many features it needs to have. So the estimates for that are anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000 for actually making and designing, testing the app, the whole process, and it takes about 6 months to a year. But it really just depends on specifically on the app. So I can't really give you anything more specific than that.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. I was concerned about the buy-in costs. If I am absolutely uninvested in your vision, what cost do you anticipate that might be for you in order to pull me in?
As an owner or as a potential client or a potential guest for the vision?
I like ownership.
Okay. So what I would say is that from a non-cost perspective, sustainable tourism is on the rise. This is something that people care about. This is something that your clients would care about, your guests would care about. As terms of cost, a lot of that is cost in retrofitting to make sure that the resort itself would be sustainable. But from there, we do look at, we get pretty substantial savings. In fact, we can go to this and I can give this back to Jake, who can talk about some of the initial costs for solar startup, things like that. But the idea would be people want this, especially, world travelers. They want more of this. They want to see this. But
Yeah, so for the initial costs, we don't necessarily have to go into the expensive things first. So we brought up some of the green retrofitting, which is, if you could go to the slide earlier on, in the slideshow that talks about the price. Yeah. So we talk about right here. So we have the green retrofitting is about $266,000, which is the smallest thing on here. But if you go to the next slide, this is using Internet of Things sensors, which is not expensive at all. It's like looking at, automatically shutting off air conditioning units in hotel rooms, stuff like that. A lot of those are already incorporated in hotels. But what we could do is we could pay another company a service charge to analyze our data and give us more effective use of the things that we already have in our hotels. So we can start saving 20% before we even actually really change anything for a very small fee. And then if you would prefer to put money into it after we've saved up that fund first, then we could do that if money is a problem. Also, we have done some analysis on the price of the hotels overall. And the hotels that have been purchased recently are ranging from $300 million to $1 billion from good sized resorts. So it could be, we could actually have more savings than what we actually projected, because our analysis was for approximately a 100 room hotel. If it's 400 or 500 rooms, it could be a lot more.
Thank you.
Part of your presentation required a tracking of water usage and utility usage. And us being the West Valley Resort Association, are you putting that onus on the association to provide that report annually? Then I also wanted to ask, you mentioned volunteerism and how desirable that is. And did you have an avenue to promote that as well?
Sure, Mr. Yeah, so as far as promoting the volunteerism, one thing that we're trying to do with the app is you could, even just upon booking your stay, we could have it incorporated where you're going to go out with one of these different organizations and spend 6 hours or a day, learning about the area, actually assisting in planting trees and healing the land. And one of the things that we've seen is that people really like that experience. You get back more than you put out. So as soon as people get that experience, they're going to want to come back. And on top of that, because we're incorporating into the app and into booking your stay, you can actually get discounts later on, points, however it ends up being, where we think that that's going to be most effective. But not only is it beneficial to the person financially if they plan to come back, but it's also a good experience for them.
But yeah, the idea would be to incentivize people who may not be necessarily bought in to do it for the rewards, and then realize as they're doing it, oh, this is something that is, I enjoyed this. I'm going to talk about this.
Right.
I have a couple questions about the EV fleet. How large are you planning to expand the fleet? It's in the 2 to 5 year mid plan.
Go ahead. Oh, yeah. Yep. So with the EV fleet, the shuttle would be a very expensive cost. We understand that. And so that's why we've put an EV van as an option as well, starting with the fleet being smaller sizes and then slowly increasing over time within the 5-year plan. But yes, we do understand that the shuttle would be an extremely upfront cost. And so that's why we recommend starting with smaller vehicles. And if they're being used and we're getting, as we're tracking data, if they're being used and we're getting the right, we're getting the actual sustainability aspect, and we're saving money, and we're saving power from it and helping the environment, then we'll continue to, put cost into the shuttle.
Can I say one more thing to that? We have a chart based on approximately how much an electric versus gas fan costs. So you can see it costs about $10,000 more to have the electric, but over your lifetime, you're going to save a lot more money. So a lot of these things that you're seeing are upfront costs. This one saves a little bit in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really save a lot. This is more about just being all electric, using less fossil fuels, and having everything be on Maui instead of having to have a ship, bring fuel onto the island, which is what I think it's 50% of the island uses right now for their fuel. So
the idea would be to keep it small. These would be shuttles just to get guests to, into the city or into the community or to various places. We wouldn't be keeping, getting this big 24 van fleet or anything like that. The idea would be keep it small, under a half a dozen, just to get guests, that want to go off the resort to where they need to go.
And that goes into my second question for the ecotourism. Would those fleets be available for drop-off pickoff points, or would those partners be responsible for the pickup drop-off?
Sure. Yeah. So we have seen, there are other hotels that do things like this. They offer their own, ways to get through cities. In fact, I used one myself in Nashville last time I was there. Yeah, the idea with this would be something that would be a cost to the resort itself, and getting people to, as part of that integration with the community and cultural leaders and things like that, getting them to those cultural sites, getting them to those events. It would be important to us to be able to make it easy for them to get there, so they don't have to rent a car. They don't have to figure out, well, I want to do this, but I can't get there. So yes, that would be on us as the people fronting the cost, but that would be what we would want to use it for.
Thank you.
Adam, you mentioned earlier that sustainable agriculture was a particularly important piece to this puzzle, and I was hoping you could speak a little bit more to that.
Yes. So, we think that sourcing locally, because Maui has 800, over 800 farms, I believe. They're very known for their agriculture. And so keeping as much sourced from the island is going to be imperative. That's kind of how we can give back to the local industries and help build them up. We don't think that going directly for that 30% goal initially is a good idea. We think starting smaller and building, but then eventually hitting a 30% of everything being sourced, 30% of everything being sourced as far as food, beverages go. That will really help the industry and the farming industry. Pardon me, lack of words here, be incorporated into our plan as the resort. So,
and I would also like to add, we did look up the current agriculture. I believe you pulled the research up for that. Yeah, I think it's 80 or 90% of the agriculture. 90 is sugar. Is the stuff that we actually produce on the island is mostly sugar. So moving forward, if we're going to produce anything else, we can work with them and make that a same thing, incorporating what we're doing in with the community and not forcing them to change, but to see if we can, build that together instead of trying to force an initiative on the island.
Hi. Logistically, if the goal is to offset the loss of new wind energy, what would be logistically the plan for implementing solar? So specifically, where would that go? Like agricultural lands, or how would that look like?
So we did look at, like I said, this was estimated to be I don't know if it's on. So it might not be. No, go before. The main one. That one. So we did a lot of specifics on what we would think a 100-room resort would require for energy. So that's what this is calculated on. And it's also not 100% reliant on solar. We're only sitting at about 50%. First off, because we don't want to jump too far into it and have a blackout because we don't have enough energy from some demand at some point. If you can go to the slide before this. Yeah, this is looking at how we're going to try and actually store the energy. So we're going to draw from the grid in the morning, and then during the middle of the day when there's peak sunlight, we're going to charge the battery banks, and then in the evening, that's when we're going to draw the batteries. So we're saving money. We're not completely reliant on ourselves. And then on top of that, we did some analysis, like I said, based off of the 100-room resort. And approximately we would need 1,250 solar panels. And based off of that size, we'd need about 22,000 square feet. And if it is a one-story resort, there's plenty of space. Even with all the HVAC stuff on the roof, there's no problem. Two-story, it gets a little bit tight. But even with that, a lot of resorts have auxiliary buildings. So you could put it on something like one of the side garages or one of the little out jets and one of the other, separate, not just where the actual guests are staying. So.
Makes sense. Thank you.
And that is, I think you judges. Thank you.
All right, and now we have team C1.
Welcome, and thank you for allowing us to share our ideas. We are Aloha Resort Solutions, and this is our Ka'anapali 2030 Blueprint for Sustainable Prosperity. The Hawaii state motto is translated to, "The life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness." In this presentation, we will be prioritizing the land that gave birth to Hawaiian culture. Our goal is to diversify Maui's revenue sources while promoting sustainable tourism to revitalize the economy, culture, and the environment. Maui is the second largest Hawaiian island. 40% of its jobs rely on tourism. While tourism provides a significant economic benefit to the island, it also has serious implications during non-peak travel times and after major natural disasters. So our strategy uses a triple axis framework, and our vision is to position Ka'anapali as the global gold standard for ecotourism and cultural tourism by 2030, achieving simultaneous economic recovery, environmental conservation, and cultural preservation. Our strategy is to use a three-axis framework. This framework balances economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and cultural enrichment with robust success metrics and accountability mechanisms at its core. We will do this by coordinating with existing stakeholders to enhance their efforts and connect the people visiting Hawaii with the root of Hawaii, the land. So getting into our economic vitality, we have these programs here, a local business multiplier program. We're going to revamp the already existing Made in Hawaii retail program. We are going to issue tourism recovery bonds, and we are going to start a smart seasonal tourism program. So our local business multiplier program, the objective with this is going to be to allow the resorts to start supporting the economy of Hawaii more. So to do this, we're going to require resorts to purchase minimum of 40% of their supply chain procurement from local Hawaiian suppliers. The success metric for this is going to be a local economic impact of $20 million annually by 2028. So our Made in Hawaii retail program, this is a program that already exists, and we are going to be revamping it. We're going to be implementing it and putting it into the resorts on Maui. So doing this, we're going to make sure that every resort has a local marketplace that features local Hawaiian artisans and products in this marketplace. The success metric for this is going to be $5 million in annual artisan sales by 2028. So our Made in Hawaii marketplace, the objective is to establish this Made in Hawaii marketplace. It's going to be marketplaces within the resorts where they purchase 40% of their gift shop inventory from local vendors, and the local vendors are going to have a Made in Hawaii certification. The funding from this will be coming from the community art grants and the Hawaii Tourism Authority marketing support. The impact is going to be $15 million in annual revenue for local artisans by 2028 and 100% resort participation by 2026. Getting into our tourism recovery bonds, we are going to issue bonds to fund sustainable projects starting with renewable energy and beach restoration. The success metric will be $50 million in public and private funding by 2026. Currently, the Maui Economic Development Board has an in-depth plan that they created back in 2022, and I believe that this plan can use a lot of that funding to really make a difference. Our smart seasonal tourism, this is where we are going to offer off-peak discounts for eco-focused tourism. So for this, we're looking to get a 25% increase in off-season tourism by 2027. According to Kaeo Ornelas from the Office of Economic Development in Maui, mid-June to mid-August is their high season, while mid-December to early January is the peak season. The rest of the year, excluding major holidays, is their low season. This is the area we'll be targeting with this smart seasonal tourism program. The next aspect of our triple axis framework is the environmental stewardship. So our vision is to protect Ka'anapali's natural resources for long-term sustainability, and those are our goals. So we have a Living Shorelines initiative to support our goal of regenerative beach management. We have a carbon-conscious travel initiative to support our goal of net zero tourism. And we have a reef protector project to support our goal of a marine ecosystem safeguard. Our Living Shorelines initiative, the objective is going to be to stabilize the beachfront areas using natural methods. To do this, we're going to use grants from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And the success metric will be a 90% shoreline stabilization by 2027 and a reduced erosion rate annually. Our net zero carbon conscious travel is going to be achieved by 100% renewable energy and offset carbon emissions. The funding for this will be coming from the Department of Energy Renewable Energy Grants and the United Nations Climate Smart Tourism. The success metric for this will be a 60% reduction in carbon emissions by 2028 and 90% of resorts certified as carbon neutral. Next, I will hand it off to Sky to talk about our Reef Protector project.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you for the opportunity to present you these ideas. Our Reef Protector project, RPP, will restore Maui's coral reefs and improve reef health through ecotourism. Our program trains travelers to become ecotourists by actively growing and maintaining natural reefs. We are going to be training roughly 100,000 snorkelers annually, utilizing National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grants alongside NOAA's Coral Reef Conservation Program. We aim for a 20% increase in reef health by 2028. By 2028, our initiatives will yield a 90% reduction in erosion through shoreline stabilization, 60% reduction in carbon emissions, and a 20% annual improvement in coral ecosystems health. To ensure accountability, an oversight board will monitor our progress. By collaborating with NGOs, Hawaii's Tourism Authority, and local communities, we will establish rigorous protocols for monitoring. We are not going to set them ourselves. It is to be set by the locals. We are also going to be using satellite-based tracking systems to measure shoreline stability, energy usage, and reef health while minimizing environmental impact of these monitoring systems. Moving on to our third axis of our triple axis framework is the cultural enrichment using an authentic Hawaiian experience for travelers. Our vision is to preserve and celebrate the Hawaiian culture by embedding authentic experiences into tourism, empowering local communities beyond resort employment, fostering a deeper appreciation of the Hawaiian traditions among visitors. Guided by the belief, no Hawaiians, no Hawaii, our initiatives promote authentic representation, cultural practitioner engagement, and visitor awareness. Our key initiatives are the Hawaiian Cultural Academy, It's going to train and certify resort employees in Hawaiian language, traditions, and cultural sensitivity in partnership with Hawaii's Tourism Authority. And by 2026, we are going to require mandatory certification assessments, which will enhance satisfaction while upholding cultural integrity. In addition, we are going to be offering community-led cultural experiences, which will leverage heritage and community arts grants, where local practitioners will lead storytelling and hands-on cultural activities to generate sustainable practices and patronage for community businesses. In addition, we will also be offering a Hawaiian Cultural Ambassadors Program, designating local experts to lead resort-based cultural tours and storytelling. This will be funded from historic preservation grants, and we aim to engage 50,000 visitors annually. Our most ambitious initiative is the Iola Hawaii Initiative. It stands for In Hawaiian, to Live Forever. This ensures the continuity of Hawaiian culture by securing the well-being of Native Hawaiians. Without Hawaiians, there is no Hawaii. Our plan provides a universal basic income of $1,200 per month and healthcare coverage for every Maui resident that was born after January 1st, 2000. This will cover over 30% of the entire residents of Maui, costing at an average of $10,500 per person in healthcare. This plan comes to $1.3 billion plus a year. How will we fund this? We are going to initiate a new land tax. We are going to be creating a billionaire land tax bracket. Maui spans over 465,000 acres. 218,000 of those acres are owned by billionaires. We are going to finance Iola Hawaii to ensure the wealth generated from the land sustains its people. A billionaire land tax bracket will be established for land holdings that exceed $50 million in value. That value is going to be reassessed using a $100,000 per acre rate. Those values will be taxed at 14.52% minimum to cover the entire cost of the initiative. The goal will be a 25% tax because then we will be able to sustain the program as people age and increase in costs over time. Research shows that this financial and healthcare support will dramatically improve community well-being, economic stability, and overall visitor experience. For context, just one billionaire's portfolio that owned land on this island would be able to cover it with the fluctuations that happened during this project. To maintain this and ensure oversight, we will be implementing a cultural oversight board, which will partner with the HTA, the Polynesian Cultural Center, and local organizations to uphold authenticity. For example, Iola Hawaii must be led by Native Hawaiians from Maui. With that, we transition into our strategies for success, and Syed will take it from here.
Strategies for success. So these are, as we previously mentioned, our economic, environmental, and cultural metrics that we will be basing our success on. And here's how we're going to implement these. In phase one, we're going to start launching our environmental projects. Then by phase two in 2026, we're going to use what's already working and scale it to a larger scale. And by 2028, we hope to achieve a completely environmental acceptable destination at Ka'anapali. Some of our future challenges: beach erosion and infrastructure vulnerability, climate change, over-tourism impacts on our community, making a wider economy based less on tourism, and sustaining our cultural practices. Some of our solutions for sustainability are adopting ecotourism practices, making our area climate resilient, educating tourists on culture, diversifying our economy, and having crisis plans in place. Who we need to get involved are the governments with their policy support, our community to get involved in our decisions, following proven and data-driven plans, and partnering with local private companies on implementing these new policies. Now, let me talk about two areas that improve their ecotourism. One example is Bhutan, and what they did is they charged $200 a day to all their tourists for sustainable development fees, which led to 70% of Bhutan being covered in forests and more employment in their tourist areas. Another example is in Rwanda, where they used their community to fix their tourist situation. They supported local businesses by using tourist profits to fund local community projects to attract more tourists. They charged gorilla conservation fees to take care of the Silverback Lodge and create more jobs. Tourists also love their experience in both those places. What we learned from them: is that sustainable policies are the key. Communities should be involved and should feel rewarded doing so, and using tourism to finance long-term conservation and balancing growth and sustainability maintains quality experiences. In conclusion, the triple axis framework isn't just a strategy, it's a vision for a better, more sustainable future. By weaving together economic growth, environmental responsibility, and cultural preservation, the plan ensures that Ka'anapali thrives for generations to come. It directly attacks the challenges and priorities shaping the industry today with clear, measurable goals to keep us accountable. More importantly, it sets an inspiring example for destination worldwide, proving that Maui isn't just keeping up, it's leading the way in sustainable tourism. Even if you cannot participate in these amazing ecotourism opportunities, you can follow a Hawaiian saying that says, take only photos and leave only footprints. That way we ensure Hawaii is Hawaiian for generations to come. Thank you.
Harris, judges.
Gentlemen, if I were to dig a little bit deeper in something earlier, when you said 15 million in annual for local artisans by 2028, how does that look like? What do you mean? How does that happen?
So this would be reviewing the sales from these gift shops and looking for $15 million in sales directly going to the local Hawaiian artisans. So we're going to start looking at the sales of the gift shops and where the sales are coming from. So which revenue, what revenue streams are being the most beneficial in those resorts. So by implementing 40% of that of the gift shop being from local Hawaiian artisans, hopefully we can achieve that $15 million in annual sales.
I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit more about this bond program that you proposed. Who will be issuing the bonds and financing them, and what is the revenue stream for paying those back?
So I will still have to do more research into the financing of the bonds, but the bonds would be from the local government from the state of Hawaii, and that is that's as far as we got with that. If I'm honest.
I'll follow up one little bit as well. There's already been a plan with Maui's restoration. The bond's intention is to help perpetuate the plan. So it would be pairing with things that are already in existence to try and support them in a more exacerbated way instead of just letting it dry out.
You have very ambitious and aggressive goals with the, I do have a concern though. A lot of the grants that you are talking about are federal based. We currently have an administration that just repealed the Paris Climate Act. So getting funding could also be, if your plan is not aligned with those federal agencies and funds are frozen or they're not available, what's the backup plan?
So this is a true reality. This is the things that happen in everyday life, but this is an exacerbation of that by far. We haven't seen this kind of approach necessarily, but we would be resilient in planning so that even if we had to take time off, even if we had to stall for a year, or if we had to find other sources, we would have those set up before we started our operations.
So going back to the reef improvement plan and the beach regeneration, I know that in 2022, the program to help the beaches by dredging sand from the sea and bringing it to the beach was canceled, and the local government sending $400,000 back to the resort owners that provided money for that study. How is your reef restoration and beach restoration plans gotta take that plan forward?
So our goal is to use natural abilities of different technologies to restore the beach instead of trying to just dump a bunch of sand on it or anything like that. We are actually trying to use things that the locals would know better than us. So we want to empower them to make these decisions by organizing it in a way that we minimize our impact. So that's why the satellite-based measuring and things like that. So things could be data-driven instead of just we hope it works. That doesn't seem to work necessarily. Like, for instance, I believe it was North Carolina that just dumped a bunch of sand and everything went away in a few weeks. That's not going to be our approach. We are going to be looking at things like actual non-erosive techniques, either rocks or trees or other things that will help sustain sand on a rock, because it is an island.
As you look at the economic opportunity among the owners that are invested in the current economy and expecting to find revenues to pivot, what is your value add to those owners to encourage them to be a willing participant in the vision as you see it?
We value the land and the people more than them, period.
Okay. First of all, being the first time hearing you guys, like, great job. You have some brilliant, bright ideas. And I find this a little contradictory, and I guess let me explain myself, but just, a couple things. A goal of increasing the off-peak tourism season by 25%, right? But at the same time, and having an economy dependent on tourism. But then we also talk about improving the health of the beaches and by 20%. And it is, I guess help me understand the balance, right, to your approach of let's have more people come in when they weren't here in the past, but we have a goal of improving the coral reefs by 20% in 3 years.
We're going to be encouraging ecotourism, where we're actually training snorkelers to do the physical work to help expand the reefs. There's different growth techniques and different things that can be used to mechanically encourage the coral reefs to grow further. That's going to be one aspect of it. But the other thing is the beach isn't the only thing people go to Maui for. One of the most important things that is a tourist attraction is actually a hike through the mountains, is a national park, and it is very well renowned. Encouraging those aspects and showing the other things aside of just going to the beach will not stop people, of course, but it will encourage a diversification of where tourists are spending their time, hopefully. Please.
And if I can add to that, the increase of the tourists is simply to try to help benefit the economy year round, while what we're trying to implement is with these other programs, the local business multiplier program, the local themed marketplace. Those are to help the local Hawaiians have a revenue stream outside of just working at the resorts or the strictly, tourism based jobs. While we're still relying on the tourism, there's going to be a little bit more of a buffer by implementing the smart seasonal tourism and implementing the local themed marketplace.
I had another question too, just in regards to the 40% requirement for local businesses and vendors, right? Like, how are we implementing that? I mean, it seems like a mandate to go and say, who are we and what authority do we have? Or, are we a nonprofit? Like, who are we to say, hey, we're requiring you to do this?
So this is where we would really need to be partnering with the local government so we can help actually implement policies for all of the resorts and for the businesses on Maui to start implementing these policies. Thank you. That way, we can actually have a sustainable tourism. As of right now, the resorts just kind of purchase from whoever, while they do have extra taxes for importing goods from here. So it makes it a little bit cheaper. They're going to, still try to find the cheapest products, but by creating that 40% minimum local supply, we're going to be helping a lot of the local Hawaiians around the area. Do you want to add it all?
Studying it with tax depreciation as well would be one way we could approach it through the government, where we give them less tax exposure for covering that 40%.
I am just excited about the innovation and the creativity that has to come forward if you want to look differently about how it is that you preserve as well as make economic elevation. The interesting thing for me about how it's positioned here is there are some policy impacts and there are some things that can't go forward without that policy. I'm not sure that timing is within the expectation of the enrichment that you alluded to, but I do applaud you for the innovation and the expectation and valuing what's most important that has preservation for Hawaii as you see it, and how you believe the people who have inhabited Hawaii ought to see it.
All right, that is it. So the judges now will have 15 to 20 minutes to go ahead and head out the door and do your deliberations for who is the finalist or the final winner. Let's give it up for Team C1. And although we'll be giving them 15 to 20 minutes, it could be sooner. So it'd be great if you all could stay in the room and we'll get the winners announced. Final thank you for everybody, the judges, the students, everybody for all the hard work you put into this, because I know that on top of schoolwork, family, all of the things, work, probably all of the extracurricular activities that you guys are participating in, it's a lot. And I definitely applaud you for taking this on. Thank you so much. So we're going to have the judges go ahead and announce the third place winner and then the second and first.
Thank you. Right. First of all, great job to all the teams. I hope you had I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. For me, even though I've been a judge a few times, it really is full circle to be back in here. It was 2013, 2014. I was literally in this room when I first heard about the business case competitions and actually competed right here, right? And so what was interesting is one of the judges happened to work for Brown & Brown Insurance, where I've been for almost 10 years. And so I literally got my job through these case competitions. So it's amazing just to continue to be a part of UW and just see you guys get brighter, sharper, smarter, better, faster, stronger, all the time. Jamie, great job, stepping into this role. Sean, it's been nice knowing you over the past year or so. I mean, it's been goodbye. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I thought you did an amazing job in the workshop. I do recognize some of the faces from the workshop, and would love to at some point to provide feedback to Sean and Jamie as far as what you learned from a workshop and what you were able to utilize and carry. So, without further ado, third place is Team A1. So, great job to you guys. Had already given you feedback in the room. I thought, it was a little bit more of an intimate setting. You guys did a really, really good job. You knew your stuff, right? You guys were so polished. You were looking at us pretty much the whole time and weren't looking at note cards, weren't doing that. So that was probably that aspect, I would say, was probably the most impressive out of any of the speakers. We weren't reading from note cards. We weren't reading from a table. You knew your stuff. And then just maybe some of the analysis piece, if you look at some of the other people that went on to the finals, I hope you learned from that. But you guys were all dynamic speakers. And I hope, you're sophomores, juniors, or whatever, and get an opportunity to compete again.
Great. Pete.
Likewise, Jamie, thank you so much for allowing Marriott Tacoma Downtown to collaborate and to continue our partnership. The topic was very timely, and sustainability, certainly leadership as well. But sustainability, environmental, how all that wraps up into the tourism game, it is very much on the forefront. We do on every major brand with hotels every month have to provide a sustainability report. These do go for Marriott into a program called the South Pole. And so if you think this was, even though this wasn't a theoretical situation, these are very real topics, and these are really real things that individuals at my level and above do have to report to, and they do have very important consequences in terms of which types of business will attract to your company. Will you be getting certain leads? Will you be able to fill a convention center, which has an environmental impact to the downtown core of the location that you're working within? So this is this hits very close to home. So I'm very I'm very surprised with the serendipity of it all. But without further ado, our second place winners are going to be Team C1, Syed, Tyler, and Skylar. Gentlemen, you had a great presentation. You had very ambitious goals. You looked at this topic from what does real estate have to do? What do we as a collective in this area have to do to get a program off the ground, up and running? You know it's going to take government. You know it's going to take certain policy measures. You know it's going to take a lot of money. The time frame, that was a little bit more ambitious. It does take a little bit longer to get stuff off the ground, tying in how to work with lobbyists, how to work with your government agencies to get those plans moving forward, because believe me, hoteliers will take that and they will take that to heart and they will run with it. That had to be developed just a little bit more, but fantastic job. So that leaves Team 1 of Jake, Mitchell, Adam, and Anastasia. Congratulations. Even though your goals were not as high as the billionaire tax category, there was a lot of progression with your goals and how to achieve them. We were all very impressed with your appendix. And again, forward thinking, we had to mention this in ours, the forward thinking, what can we come back with? What do you think the stakeholders who are in this instance, the panelists, what questions are we going to have for you? And you were able to bring up your supporting evidence for that. Our feedback on an area of improvement is for, really it came down to the slide deck of all things, that to be slightly more polished. So just in terms of not necessarily a template, but just certain fonts of all that. So very easy things, just to make things more polished. But overall, congratulations. It was a great presentation.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes the 19th annual internal case competition, and I hope to see everyone back next year for the Big 20, except for seniors. Well, I know you guys can come back too. So that's it. And teams, if you want to stay around, we have Noah here that can take some pictures of you guys. That would be lovely. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.